Radhika Mataji, Hare Krishna, welcome.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Bol. Pranams. Any doubt in previous class? No? Soumya Mataji, any doubts in previous class? No doubts? Okay. So today we will be understanding the result of Jupiter in all the houses on 12 in all 12 houses. In astrology we have 12 houses, 12 zodiacs and 9 planets, right? Okay. So each house represents a different aspect of your life. For example, the first house represents you. The sixth house represents your enemy, debts, disease. The second house is your finance. The third house is your hard work, your siblings. The fourth house is your comfort, material happiness. The fifth house, please write it. The fifth house is your progeny. The sixth house is your debts, disease, and enemy. The seventh house is your spouse, your partner. The eighth house is longevity, hidden knowledge. The ninth house is religion or the spirituality. The 10th house is your profession. The 11th house is your gain, your benefits, your desires, your growth, your achievements. The 12th house is your liberation, moksha. Right? Okay. So now what is Jupiter? I have explained all the 12 houses. Now what is Jupiter? Let me show you a picture where you could know what is Jupiter in the astrology. We have 9 planets. We do not consider in Indian astrology, we do not consider these 3 planets, which is Pluto, Uranus, Neptune, right? We do not entertain these planets, but Sun, Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn, we are having these planets on priority. What is Sun? Sun is your soul. Sun is the king because he is sitting in the center. What is Mercury? Mercury is a child, which is a speech. The Venus, what is Venus? Venus is morning as well as evening star. So Venus is your beauty, your attraction, your material pleasure, your clothes, your jewelry, your makeup, bridal, females. It is all Venus in the horoscope, right? Okay. So what is Mars? Mars is your energy. Mars is red in color. That is aggression. Aggression is required by whom? The army person, the soldier person, the soldiers, the military person, etc. Now we have the biggest planet in the astrology other than Sun. It is Jupiter, because Jupiter is the guru. Jupiter is the pious most planet, and Jupiter is the Vishnu in astrology. Please write it. Vishnu is Jupiter. Jupiter is Vishnu. Vishnu is Jupiter. Okay. Now what is Saturn? Saturn is the servant. He is having a ring around it. That means the ring is made up of gases. Gases related issues to the people. It is because of what? It is because of Saturn. Asthma, breath related problems, right? Gases, and also the bones related. Bone density is to be seen from the Saturn. So if Saturn is afflicted, one could have such problems. Okay, now moving ahead. Jupiter is Lakshmi. Jupiter is Vishnu, sorry. Jupiter is Vishnu. This is why any person who is having strengthened Jupiter in the horoscope, no matter how worst condition he is going through, everything would get fine. Everything would get to the track very soon. Maybe now or maybe then. It is because of Jupiter, because Jupiter is the Vishnu, and Vishnu is the head of all the demigods, right? Okay, now what is Lakshmi? Jupiter has got Venus. Jupiter is Vishnu, and Vishnu has got Venus. Venus is Lakshmi. In the churning of the ocean, Samudra Manthana, the Lakshmi was asked, to whom you want to marry? Lakshmi said, I want to marry Vishnu. That means love marriages is to be seen from Venus. Please write it. Love marriages is to be seen from the Venus, right? And a submissive wife, if a person is willing to have a submissive wife, or a wife who knows to stay with you in your ups and downs. Jupiter is required. If a person has strength in Jupiter in the horoscope, he is surely going to get a wife who is very submissive to that person. So Jupiter is Vishnu. Now look at this picture. Vishnu is lying in the Garbhada ocean with a satisfaction. He is lying in the Garbhada ocean with a satisfaction. He is satisfied. He is very satisfied. And he is having a submissive wife, which is Venus. Satisfaction is to be seen from the Jupiter. Knowledge is to be seen from the Jupiter. Knowledgeable person, they are always patient, calm, composed, they're satisfied. So knowledge is to be seen from the Jupiter. Satisfaction is to be seen from the Jupiter, right? Okay, now moving ahead. We have 12 houses in the horoscope. Now we will place Jupiter in each different house. Jupiter in the first house, what does it do? First house is the person. First house is you. If Jupiter sits in the first house, the person is very intelligent, wisdom, knowledgeable. Please write it. Jupiter in the first house makes the person very knowledgeable, calm, composed, spiritual, ethical, submissive, having interest toward scriptures, respects the demigods, respects the guru, respects the parents, and he is always willing to do something for the society. If someone who is having Jupiter in the first house, never drop your education. You are supposed to learn every now and then. Once you feel like, no, I have sufficient knowledge, that day you will start going down. If someone who has Jupiter in the first house, right? Now, and Jupiter in the first house, because now you are acting as a what? Jupiter, Vishnu. So you might get a proposal. You might get a submissive wife, which is Lakshmi. Beautiful wife, because Lakshmi is beautiful. So beautiful wife you get through Jupiter. If someone who has strength in Jupiter in the horoscope, they get beautiful wife. Okay. Now, moving ahead, Venus is Lakshmi. And Vishnu is very opulent. Vishnu is Jupiter. When a woman has Venus in the first house, she could marry by her choice. Also, she marries a person who is very opulent. Who is very opulent, like Vishnu. Vishnu is very opulent. He is having so much wealth, name, fame, etc. Name, fame is also to be seen from Jupiter. If someone who has Jupiter in the first house, they have name and fame because of their intellect, because of their knowledge. Okay. And this is my personal experience that whenever a person has Jupiter in the first house, that person must have taken loan, right? Debts. They have debts over them. You know, acting skills, drama, stage performance, it is also to be seen from Jupiter. Now, can you tell me why? Can you tell me why? Actors do have very good Jupiter in the horoscope. Can you tell me why? Yes, please.
Maybe because they need to memorize a lot.
They need to memorize a lot.
For memorization, you need to learn first, and
Okay.
this Jupiter is good for learning.
Okay. Radhika Mataji, online, do you have any idea?
Maybe because Jupiter is a big planet, so wherever he is noticed.
Because Jupiter is Vishnu, and Vishnu has so many incarnations. Incarnation has different roles. Whenever you are coming to this world, you are having Rama avatar, Krishna avatar, you are having Vara avatar, right? So you are making acting, you are doing acting, right? Once the Krishna or the Vara, or the Vaman, He put his leg on the all, to the universe. And the same Vishnu, he is making acting when he became the child of Yashoda Maiya, because he wasn't able to cross the threshold of the house, right? So this is acting, right? So acting is Vishnu and going very deep, right? Okay, moving ahead. So Vishnu is satisfaction. When a person who is getting 2 times meal a day, not 3 times, but he is still happy. I'm satisfied. I earn 10,000 per month, but I'm happy. I don't want more. This is Jupiter. If a person who earns 1 lakh per month, but is still demanding for more, this is Venus. Venus is Rajoguni and Jupiter is Satoguni. So the stage is to go from Tamogun to Rajogun, and then Rajogun to Satogun, and then Satogun to Shuddha Sattva. Right? This is the stage. Right? This is how you're supposed to go. Right? You're not supposed to even stick at the Satogun only, because Satogun is also one of the energy of this material world. Okay, now moving ahead. Now, Jupiter in the second house. Second house is your family. Second house is your speech. And Jupiter is very big. That means joint family. If a person has joint family, Jupiter in the second house, person speech becomes very counseling, very informative. It is because of Jupiter in the second house. And the face is very mature. Whenever you see a person whose face is very mature, you could say that yes, he is having the influence of Jupiter, right? Okay. Now moving ahead.
What do you mean by joint family?
Joint family, that means your father and the brothers of your father, they are togetherly living in, in one family. That is joint family. If Saturn sits in the second house, because Saturn is moving slow, bit. So bits and pieces, it is seen from the Saturn. So nuclear family, if Saturn sits in the second house, nuclear family, right? Jupiter sits, then it is what? It is joint family. Okay. And Jupiter in the second house, this is what I've seen, that separation from husband in the chart of females, I've seen mostly, right? Now moving ahead, third house, Jupiter in third house. Jupiter in third house. What is third house? Third house is your writing. Third house is your hobbies. Third house is your hard work, right? So when Jupiter sits in the third house, the person has hobby to read and write. Reading so many novels, reading so many books, it is because of Jupiter in the third house. And also the person has the habit or hobby to play an instrument, and that too Vedic instrument like mridanga, tabla, harmonium, etc. when Jupiter sits in the third house. And writing habit, these person are very good at writing when Jupiter sits in the third house. Okay. Now Jupiter sits in the fourth house. What is fourth house? Fourth house is your mother. Fourth house is your birthplace. Fourth house is your comfort. And fourth house represents the place where you live. So Jupiter is spirituality, religion, religious. That means this person could live around a place which is religious. Maybe India, maybe Vrindavan, maybe Braj. When Jupiter sits in the fourth house, this person could have a temple near to the house, maybe university, school, because university, school, what is their work? They provide education, knowledge. So Jupiter in the fourth house, this is the impact or the influence. Radhika Mataji, I hope you are making notes. Okay. So Jupiter in the fourth house, right? And also Vishnu is having so much comfort. So Jupiter in the 4th house gives comfort. And also in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, whosoever surrenders unto me, 3 things I'm going to give that person. It is the food, shelter and cloth. So 4th house is your shelter. Shelter is confirmed. 4th house is your happiness. Without food, you cannot assume the bodily happiness. Food, this person is going to get. And the 3rd thing, which is cloth. Also cloth, this person is going to get. Right? 3 things are confirmed. Right? So you can even see in Vrindavan or the spiritual places, nobody is left without taking food. Nobody. Even now we are having class, somewhere must be, there must be prasadam distribution going on, right? Okay, yes, you have any doubt?
And it says shelter here. So who's the figure the person is going to have his own house?
Yes, own house, right? Right? Okay. So now moving ahead. Okay. So, and also the Jupiter represents what? Banyan tree. Banyan tree is very old. And banyan tree is having beard. You must have seen. So this person could have a banyan tree near to the house. And this person is supposed to have tulasi, tulasi plant in the house. And if this person worships tulasi every day, it is really good for home environment, right? Lakshmi is jealous of whom? Lakshmi is jealous of tulasi. Why? Because sometimes Lakshmi has to go to bless her devotees, but tulasi leaves are always lying unto the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu. So jealousy is also to be seen from Venus, because Venus is material happiness. Venus is material growth. Venus is desires. Okay. Now moving ahead. Jupiter in the 5th house. The 5th house represents your progeny, education, your intellect, your wisdom. So this person has a higher knowledge, because 5th house is your education. Scriptural knowledge, yes, but also the graduation or post-graduation, PG, right? And also the progeny would be there, because 5th house is your progeny and Vishnu is having a progeny which is Brahma, right? So whenever Jupiter sits in the 5th house, the person has progeny, and also he takes education to post-graduation, particularly in the field of management, which is MBA, BBA. Why? Because Jupiter is the maintainer, Vishnu is the maintainer. If you want to become human resource, which planet is required? Jupiter is required. Why? Because Brahma is looking after the humans. He is providing the responsibility to every human. You are supposed to do this, you are supposed to do this. And Jupiter, Brahma is also Jupiter. So human resource in the companies, in the corporations, it is Jupiter. Okay. Management, it is also Jupiter. If you want to become manager of a workplace, Jupiter is required, because Vishnu is managing all the affairs of this world. Whenever the demigods or the Brahma, they go through any problem, they approach whom? Vishnu. So problem solving skills, it is to be seen from the Jupiter. That means guru, spiritual gurus, counselors, healers, even the doctors, they do have good Jupiter in the horoscope. Astrologers, because they are problem solving, right? They're solving the problem. Okay, so now moving ahead. Jupiter in the 6th house. The 6th house is what? 6th house is your debt, disease, and enemy, right? That disease and enemy. And Jupiter is what? Progeny. Jupiter is your education, right? And Jupiter also represents your luck. So obstacles in your luck, because 6th house is obstacles and luck is Jupiter. Now you have to combine both. Obstacles in luck, animical relationship maybe with the progeny, or education related to disease, that is biology, medical, and education. And 6th house is debt. So you could take your education on debt, which is loan, education loan, right? Now moving ahead, Jupiter in the 7th house. The 7th house is your spouse, and Vishnu has got Lakshmi, which is she is very submissive. So Jupiter sits in the 7th house. 7th house is of your spouse. You get a spouse who is very supporting, who is very educated, who is very knowledgeable. And also your fortune may rise after your marriage, right? Because Jupiter is your fortune and Jupiter is your luck. Now moving ahead. And also if Jupiter sits in the 7th house, the person could have a stomach related issues like gastric issues. And also the generation is going to move ahead. In the scriptures, it is written that if Jupiter sits in the 7th house, the generation is going to go up. That means if you are earning like 10,000, your generation would be achieving more name, fame, and better position to you if Jupiter sits in the 7th house. Now moving ahead, Jupiter in the 8th house. 8th house is your longevity, good for longevity, very good longevity. And 8th house is your hidden knowledge, astrology knowledge, astrological knowledge. People whosoever who has Jupiter in the 8th house, they have very good interest, keen interest in astrology, hidden knowledge, hidden scriptures, maybe Sanskrit, maybe yoga, because 8th house is also yoga, right? So having knowledge or having interest in what? Yoga. Now moving to 9th house. 9th house is your father. 9th house is your luck. 9th house is what? 9th house is your religion, your worship. And 9th house represents ancestors. That means the generation is still going to grow because Jupiter is sitting in the 9th house, which is ancestors. And Jupiter is having Brahma as a son. So generation still goes on, right? It doesn't stop. 9th house is your spirituality, your religion. You are very ethical, you are very submissive if Jupiter sits in the 9th house. Religious, and also you worship Vishnu, right? Which is Krishna. Okay. Now moving ahead. And also your father could be teacher, yoga practitioner, spirituality, right? And also when Jupiter sits in the 9th house represents your guru. The native is very ethical or submissive or pays respect to guru, right? Now moving ahead, Jupiter in the 10th house. 10th house is your profession. Now you tell me what could be the profession. Let me know. Vishnu bro, you tell me. If Jupiter sits in the 10th house. Lecturer and teacher and actor. Okay. And you tell me. You? Any idea? No? Okay. Now you tell me. Soumya Mataji, any idea? If Jupiter sits in the 10th house. Radhika Mataji, any idea?
Yes, teacher, counselor, yes.
Yes, teacher, counselor, writer, because Jupiter is also writer. Jupiter is Vyasa Deva. He is writing all the day. This is why we do Guru Puja on the birth anniversary of Vyasa Deva, right? Okay, so now moving ahead. The 10th house, the Jupiter in the 10th house is your profession. You could be writer, you could be lecturer, counselor, or problem solver, right, etc. Moving ahead, Jupiter in the 11th house. 11th house is your growth, your gain, your benefits, your achievement. So Jupiter in the 11th house, you gain from your knowledge, because Jupiter is your knowledge, gain and knowledge. You just have to club two things. This is how simple this astrology is, right? So Jupiter in the 11th house, you gain from your knowledge. Again, you could be a teacher. Gain from progeny, because Jupiter is progeny. Gain from progeny, right? And Jupiter is your elder siblings. So gain from elder siblings, right? Okay. Now sometimes people come to a spiritual path for the sake of fulfilling their desires, which is really not wrong. Krishna says this. You want to fulfill your desires, just come to me. So Jupiter in the 11th house. Maybe a person could come to spirituality for the sake of fulfillment of desires, right? Just like Dhruv Maharaj. Initially, he wanted to have a very big, a planet for himself. But later he denied that I want nothing, because my desires have got fulfilled. Now I don't want anything, right? Okay. So now Jupiter in the 12th house. What is 12th house? 12th house is your liberation. Yes, please.
It's the big time in the 10th house.
Hmm.
One also say gain from students.
Jupiter in the
In the
11th house. Yes, Jupiter in the 11th house, gain from progeny, students, right? Okay. Now Jupiter in the 12th house. 12th house is what? 12th house is your expenses. 12th house is your liberation, moksha. So again, Jupiter is sitting in the house of moksha, spirituality. It is really very good. Very good. Right? It is really very good. And in scriptures, it is written that either this person goes to Vaikuntha, maybe the chances are this, or he goes to upper lokas. And we know what are the upper lokas: the Brahmalok, Satyalok, Siddhalok, Tapalok, Janalok, so many lokas. 7 lokas up, 7 lokas down. And we are sitting in the center, in the bottom. Right? Okay. So now moving ahead. So today we did Jupiter in all the houses, right? So Jupiter in all the houses, and also the Jupiter is what? Jupiter is Vishnu. Jupiter is Vishnu and Lakshmi is Venus. If a male who has Jupiter in the first house and Venus in the first house of a female, they are soulmates. They are meant for each other. They are not together for this life only. They are together for many lives, right? So even few days back, I met a Mataji, and she told me that since I was 13, I wanted to marry a person. Although she got 5 proposals, but all of them she denied, she rejected. And she married a person. So while I was consulting them, I looked at their face and I told them, you are soulmate to each other. You are meant for each other. You are not together for this birth only. Since so many births, you are together. Now, if you see any Lakshmi and Vishnu in front of you, what remedy you are going to advise them for their spiritual benefits, health benefits, mental benefits? What could be the solution? Any idea, any Any click in your mind? Radhika Mataji, any click? No? Okay. So the click is very simple. The wife is supposed to massage the legs of her husband at least for 10 minutes a day, 5-10 minutes a day, because Lakshmi is doing the same, right? So it is really very good for what? For mental health, spiritual health, and for financial health, right? If someone who has strong Jupiter in the horoscope, 80% of the diseases goes away, no disease to the person, 80% of the disease, because Jupiter is Satoguni, and Satoguni people, they generally have more longevity than Rajoguni. Rajoguni people, they have more longevity than Tamoguni, and Tamoguni people, they have very less longevity, because Satoguni people, they speak truth, they follow religion, they have faith in demigod spirituality, but Tamogun people, they don't have, they speak bad to the society, etc., right? So Satogun and Tamogun and Rajogun, once you understand the three modes of material nature, what is Satogun, Rajogun and Tamogun, believe me, you know the astrology, you know the Vedas, maybe you know a lot about Vedas, right? Okay, now moving ahead. Okay, so satisfaction is seen from what? Satisfaction is seen from which planet? Which planet? Satisfaction? Jupiter, yes. Now a poor guy says, if you ask a poor guy that, are you happy? Then he says, no, I'm not happy. Then who is happy? Let me know, who is happy? If poor is not happy, then who is happy? Prabhuji, Mataji, let me know. Radhika ji. If poor is not happy, then who is happy? Prabhuji, you tell me. If poor is not happy, then rich is happy. Very simple. You ask a poor guy, are you happy? Then he says, no, I'm not happy. Rich is happy. Now you ask a rich person who is happy. He says, super rich is happy. Now you ask super rich. He says, king is happy. Now you ask king, who is happy? He says, super king is happy. Now you ask super king, who is happy? He says, Indra is happy because he is the king of heavens. Now King Indra says, Brahma is happy, I'm not happy. You ask Brahma, who is happy? He says, Vishnu is happy, I'm not happy. So this chain is going on, right? Ultimately, the writer of Ramayana, Goswami Tulsidas Ji Maharaj, he says, without the holy name of Lord Krishna, no one is happy, right? So it doesn't matter, you are Brahma, you are Indra or someone. Satisfaction is derived from Jupiter only, right? Right? Okay. Now moving ahead. Now you tell me, if a businessman who has a very strong Jupiter in the horoscope, is it good for him? Is it good for him if a businessman who has? Let me know. Radhika ji. I'm saying he's having very powerful Jupiter, right? Powerful Jupiter. That means he's very submissive, spiritual, ethical, patient, composed, calm, not willing to have so much. Now you tell me, is it good for him? Is it good for him? You says yes. Okay. You tell me. Yes, you tell me. Good or bad? Neutral? You tell me, Soumya ji. Radhika ji, you tell me. If a businessman who has a strong Jupiter in the horoscope, is it good for him?
I will say no.
Why? If you say no, then why?
Because businessman, they are more Rajaguni people. No?
Yes.
Very Sataguni.
If a businessman is satisfied within what he is having, it is like a suicide for the business. You're supposed to grow. You're supposed to expand, which is Venus. So Rajogun is required. You know the 3 gunas. Okay, you are a businessman, you want Rajogun. Right? This is how astrology works. But if a Brahmin who is having a strong Venus in the horoscope, then what is going to happen? You tell me, is it good for him or bad? It's not good for him. Because whatever he is having is not satisfied within. So Brahmin or a spiritual people, the desires should be very less, right? Now you cannot say that the businessman is wrong because he's making expenditure, he is willing to have more, because it is his duty to expand and expand and expand so that more and more employment opportunities could be created. This is what Chanakya Niti says, right? So being an astrologer, the very first thing is not supposed to judge anyone, right? You are not supposed to judge anyone that why he is making expenditure, why is he having so many desires. If he is having desires, now you are supposed to counsel that person how you could achieve the growth in your life, right? So desires are really not bad, right? So this is the Buddhism. In Buddhism, people follow what? Abhilasha Shunyam. That means zero. You become zero. You never desire anything. But in Indian system, it is never such. Desires, you can desire. You can have desires, but for the sake of Krishna. Okay. So now moving ahead. Okay. So today what we will be doing, okay, so today we will be doing what is Ketu in the astrology, because we are now left with Ketu and some sort of Saturn, right? So what is Ketu in astrology? Ketu, which is south node, and Rahu, which is north node, right? Rahu is south node and Ketu is north node, right? Rahu and Ketu, which is the hidden planets or the shadow planets. Moving ahead. So Ketu is a Brahmanical planet and he is also spiritual. And I have mentioned the difference. What is the difference among these 3 planets? The Ketu, the Jupiter and the Saturn. Saturn is also spiritual, but he is willing to have salvation. Jupiter is also spiritual, but he wants nothing. Ketu is also spiritual, but he wants superpower. What is superpower? I can lamp a diya without using matchstick. I can lamp a diya, I can fire a diya without using matchstick. Just look at my powers. So this is Ketu. People who speak anything and it becomes true, it is also because of Ketu, right? Okay, so worshipping demigods, because all these superpowers obviously Vishnu gives to his devotees, but demigods could be impressed very soon, right? Very easily. Demigods get happy very easily. You worship them 1 hour a day, they get happy and they bless you. But that blessing is very temporary. It doesn't stay for long. So demigod worshipping is Ketu. People who worship demigod, like Durga, Kali, etc. It is because of this Ketu, right? Okay, now moving ahead. Superpowers, it is because of what? It is because of Ketu. right? Okay, so no, I'm leaving this doctor as of now. Okay, so all kind of prosperity, it is also Ketu, right? All kind of prosperity, just like Vishnu, but here you are getting that prosperity very temporary because you are worshipping the demigods. Okay, now tuberculosis, a disease, it is because of Ketu. Pandemic like Corona, COVID-19, it happened because of Ketu, right? Because in the transit we were having Jupiter and Ketu together, right? Okay, so difficulties from enemy, it is also because of Ketu. Places around the Ganga, it is also Ketu, right? Places are around the Ganga, you sit there and you are worshipping some demigod, it is because of Ketu. Now moving ahead, mantra shastra, it is also Ketu, right? What is the holy mantra in this Kali Yuga? It is Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. But if you are doing some other mantras just for the sake of benefit of taking some superpowers, it is because of Ketu, right? Okay, now moving ahead. Supreme knowledge of the Supreme Lord, right? Ketu, see what is the difference? Ketu thinks that because Ketu at the churning of the ocean, the head of the demon was separated. You know this thing? You know, the head of the demon was separated in the churning of the ocean. You know anything such? No. You know, Ruji, right? So the head was Rahu. Rahu was head. That means anything wireless, it is Rahu. Laptop, internet, etc. It is Rahu. And Ketu is what? Ketu is having the lower body. That means he cannot see. He is blind. He could see because of intuition. So people who are having powerful intuition, it is because of Ketu, right? And also Ketu thinks this, that Krishna is not the supreme. Someone should be above to Krishna, right? So people who are meditating the light, who are not believing Krishna was someone, it is also because of Ketu. When you are not believing in the Supreme Personality, you think that someone should be even higher to the Supreme Personality. Who is that person? Now you are becoming blind. You are not stopping yourself to a particular place. It is because of Ketu. Now moving ahead. Huh?
Impersonalism is spiritual.
Personalism,
Impersonalism.
impersonalist. He is a spiritual, but he is not knowing who is the Supreme, who is at the top, what is the hierarchy, who is Lakshmi, who is Vishnu, who is Shiva, who is Brahma. It is because of Ketu, right? Okay, so now moving ahead, detachment from world. It is also Ketu, detachment from world. He is not interested in world things, right? Okay. Okay. Now moving ahead, the sudden ache in the stomach, right? Sudden ache in the stomach, it also happens because of Ketu. And also in Buddhism, what people do in Buddhism, they are detached from the world. But attached to whom? The question mark comes. You are attached to whom? Now you don't have any answer. The Brajvasis who are living inside a Braj, they are not detached from anyone because they see everyone as a part and parcel of Krishna. So they love everyone, they are not detached. Rather, they are more attached to Krishna, right? So this is the beauty. Okay, now liberation. Liberation is also to be seen from the Ketu, right? Animals with the horns to be seen from the Ketu. Now moving ahead. Vedant, that means people who are versed, who are having powerful scripture knowledge. It is because of Ketu, right? Who are very talented and having so much knowledge in different Vedas. It is also because of Ketu, right? So one should understand what is Ketu, right? And
Very similar with Jupiter.
it is not similar with the Jupiter, Prabhuji, because see, Ketu is having desires that I want supernatural powers. I want power inside me. People should know how spiritual I am. This is Ketu. But Jupiter never shows off, He is satisfied within. He is having no desire. He is relaxed, he is calm, he is composed, etc. Right? Okay. Okay, so this is Ketu in astrology. Okay. Now what we can do today? Hmm,
Prabhuji,
yes, please, Mataji.
I have one question.
Please, please.
You said someone who has a strong Ketu, yeah, but I understand the strength of other planets, but how Ketu can be strong? I don't.
Okay. Actually, Mataji, see, every planet, they have exaltation sign, debilitation sign, the sign in which they get strengthened, the sign in which they get poor or weaken, right? But particularly in term of Ketu and Rahu and Ketu, we have some different techniques, right? I'll let you know in the upcoming classes how to see them, right? Okay, so we have done so many houses in the horoscope. Today we can do the 5th house, right? Because we are having some time with us, right? Okay, because I wasn't knowing that the 12 houses and the Jupiter would be finished very soon. Okay. So now moving ahead, the 5th house in the horoscope, the education is your 5th house, right? And I just told you, when Jupiter sits in the 5th house, the person goes for higher knowledge, which is post graduation, right? And 5th house is your progeny, and Jupiter is Vishnu is having Brahma as son. So sun is confirmed, the growth of generation is confirmed if Jupiter sits in the 5th house. Okay, intelligence, it is also your 5th house. So people who do work related to intelligence, like counseling, guiding, assisting, advising, it is also because of 5th house. Now 10th house is what, Mataji? You know what are 12 houses? No. Okay, so it would be like, okay. So now moving ahead, the 10th house in the horoscope is your profession. And if the 10th house and the 5th house has any connection with each other, you do any profession which is related to intelligence, teaching, guiding, counseling, etc. Okay, now progeny is your 5th house. Now if a person wants to know anything about progeny, you just have to jump upon 5th house. What would be the profession of my progeny? Is he, she lucky or not? In which career, in which domain they should have their career, right? What are their choices, etc. Right? The scripture knowledge, it is also to be seen from the 5th house. Okay, if you want to see future forecasting, it is because of 5th house. It is because of your intelligence. When people are having a very powerful intelligence with them, they could see a very distant future, right? So even the business persons, businessmen, entrepreneurs, they are required to have a very strengthened 5th house, 5th lord, right? Yes, please.
I have one question. Well, you said this for future forecasting. Now, sometimes a person can know what's going to happen to another person, no? And sometimes this person is trying to help and is telling the other person to be careful, no? But sometimes, people don't listen, no? So this is like can be a very information in some aspect of the person who is telling,
Okay.
or
Okay.
it's just the other person. It's just
Okay.
the person receiving the knowledge.
Okay, when a person is advising the other person and the other person is not listening to that person, then who is wrong, who is right? Right? This is you want to ask, right? Okay, okay, okay. Nice question. Hmm. Hmm. See, a woman, she asked her Gurudev that I'm having a bad habit. Whenever I go to party, I feel like everyone is looking at me. I feel like everyone is looking at me. So what is the problem? Now what is the solution? Can you tell me? So Gurudev replied that people are not looking at you. Rather, they are looking whether you are looking at them or not. You understand? So this is the Venus people. If you feel so much attracted to a person, it is because of Venus, right? If you feel like this person has something, I'm very attracted to this person, it is Rajoguna. So this is why business people or the marketing people, they must have Rajoguna inside to attract people, to convince others, right? So when you are speaking something, you must carry a Rajoguna inside you. Please write it. Right? You must have a Rajoguna inside you. Right? So this is why even the spiritual people, if you want to become a spiritual speaker, you must have some Rajoguna inside you. Then only people would be attracted to you. If you are like Satoguna, super Satoguna, people don't find interest. But you are right. You have that knowledge, but people are not attracted. People are not interested in you. This is the reality, right? So Mataji, if a person who is speaking something, who is giving advice, but people are not listening to him, it is because of poor Rajoguna. And Rajoguni planets is Venus and Mercury, right? Now I hope you got the answer, right? So Rajoguna is also required, right? It's not always you become Satoguna and okay. Now moving ahead, I hope you got your answer,
Yes, Prabhuji, thank you.
right? Okay. So you see a lot of internet, people who are into YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. My sister, she has Venus in her first house and she is having like 10,000 followers on Instagram. 10,000. And she is not having so much knowledge. I know astrology, everything, but I am not having anything with me. No, right? So even that Venus is required, right? Even that Mercury is required. Rajoguna is required, right? So when I see a people who has Rajoguna inside, I feel like, he could do so well, right? Because people would be attracted, right? So make use of your Rajoguna, make use of your Satoguna, make use of your Tamoguna. Make use, right? Do not think I'm Rajoguni, that then I'm lower to the Satoguna. No, just make use of it, right? Okay, now moving ahead. Speculation is to be seen from the 5th house. People who are into share market, investing money into different firms, share market, lottery, it is seen from the 5th house, right? Okay. Now future forecast, it is also to be seen from the 5th house, right? Because it is your intelligence. With intelligence, you could see the future. So even if you want to become astrologer, right? If you want to become a planner, if you want to become an advisor, that this company is not doing good in the market, you should not invest. You know, people who advise people that you should be doing this, you should not be doing this on the news channels. The fifth house is very strong, right? And fifth house is your stage performance. If you want to come to this stage, the fifth house is required, right? Okay, so luck, it is also your fifth house, right? Luck. Skills, it is your fifth house. Any skill that you have inside, time management, people management, interpersonal skills, it is fifth house, right? Okay, so ministers, the government ministers, if you want to become government minister, because you are advising the president or the prime minister, it is because of your intelligence. So Brahmins, they do have very strengthened fifth house in the horoscope. Brahmins, right? Okay, now moving ahead. The good behavior, because fifth house is what? Fifth house is your education, right? Fifth house is your intelligence. With intelligence, with education, you possess what? A good behavior. Okay, it is your fifth house. Now spiritual stories, people who are spiritual speakers, they remembered so much of these spiritual stories, you know, very lengthy spiritual stories, and they're speaking for arts. It is because of fifth house, right? Good news. For this time, you leave this one good news, because it is not for this, but it is for the horror. Seriousness, right? Because people who are like, you know, for example, Chanakya, right? Whatever, he just used to speak the principles, nothing else. Right? So it is the fifth house, right? Seriousness, it is to be seen from the fifth house. The determination also, right? So Chanakya was determined that one day I'll pull the leg of this king and I'll make a different king, because he is stupid. Because Chanakya was ugly, you know. Chanakya, you know who is Chanakya? Radhika ji, you know who is Chanakya?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay, Chanakya was a Pandit, he was a Brahmin, and he was ugly. So when someday he went to the kingdom or the palace of the king. So, you know, the king made a joke that the knowledge you are having, it is not equal to your face. It is not equal to your beauty. So he got very aggressive and he told that the day I pull the leg of this king, then only I'll take a deep breath. And he did that, right? So intelligence or the determination, it is to be seen from the fifth house. Okay, so the politeness also to be seen from the fifth house. Writing work, right? Chanakya was a writer. He has written Arthashastra, which is international relation in today's time, right? International relation. And the Chanakya Niti. Chanakya Niti is like way too important. And Chanakya was devoted to Vishnu. And the devotees of Vishnu, they are very intelligent, very, very intelligent, right? Okay, so now moving ahead. The Vedic mantra is to be seen from the fifth house, right? So chanting a Vedic mantra every day, it strengthens your intelligence. Not taking almonds every day, right? It is the Vedic mantra, right? Okay, so now moving ahead. Stage performance, it is to be seen from the fifth house, right? Okay. Planning, decision making, teaching, and also the romance. And also the romance to be seen from the fifth house, right? So Krishna is having how many gunas? Let me know. Krishna is having how many gunas? Gun. How many qualities Krishna is having? 64. Yes. Out of them, one is romance, right? Even the Shiva is not having that. Even not the Brahma is having that. Brahma is having like 58 or 56, and Lord Shiva is having like 60, and Vishnu is having 64, right? 64. So romance, Krishna has taught us, and romance is really good for soul, right? People really don't know this, right? But romance is really good for your soul, for your spiritual health. right? Okay, so fifth house is what? Love making. See, I have more slides. Fifth house is what? Your love, your relationship, right? It is to be seen from the fifth house. And the seventh house is what? Seventh house is your marriage. So if our fifth house is strengthened and the seventh house is your poor, so sometimes people complain that when I was in relationship, everything was fine, everything was perfect. But when I married, things started getting worse. Why? Because you were having fifth house very strengthened, but not the seventh house, right? So as soon as you marry, the day you marry, the planet starts working because they were sitting in the seventh house and they were watching, right? So this is the game of 9 planets, right? Okay, so fifth house, the soul is also to be seen from the fifth house, right? And so many different things, right? Soul is actually the first house, right? But also at the micro level, we see soul from the fifth house as well, right? So this is the 12 houses of the horoscope, right? This is first, second, third, fourth, this is fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th, 11th, and 12th, right? So today we have completed our fifth house and first house, second house, third house, fourth house we have already completed. Also the 12th house, 11th house we have already completed. We are left with now 6th house, 7th house, 8th house, and 9th and 10th, right?
Just explain the
Hmm.
first house in relation to when you have a relationship with marriage. Why
Hmm.
is it changes?
Because Proji, see, the fifth house is your love, your relationship, your affairs. That is different thing, right? And marriage is different thing. If you are having the connection of fifth house and the seventh house, love marriage could happen because fifth house is your love and the fifth house is what? The marriage. Love marriage could happen. It is not always the person you like, you love, you fall in love and you get married to that person only. No, it is never so. Right? So this is why we are having different houses for every aspect of your life. This 12 houses covers the entire journey of a person from birth to the salvation.
So when you do the chart,
Hmm.
is the chart constant
Yes,
the whole life,
it
or does it change?
it is permanent or it is fixed for 120 years. For 120 years. This chart is just valid for 120 years. After that, you get a new chart from the different mathematical principles of the astrology. But then you have to wait for 120 years. You have to live, right? Okay. So, Radhika Mataji, any doubts from your side?
Sorry, I missed the point you were talking. It's how many years for making a what? I did.
Okay. Okay. Whatever chart you are having with you, you have birth place, you have time, you have date of birth, right? So you prepare a chart and you get a chart. This chart is only legit for 120 years, not more than that. If you want to get new chart after 120 years, we have some different mathematical calculations according to which we prepare new chart, right? So this is what astrology is, right? Okay, and these 12 houses, it does not just speaks about you. It speaks about your father, about your mother, about your spouse, about your grandfather, about your neighbor, even about the neighbor. even about the people around your birthplace. It talks of everything. Even these small siblings, elder siblings, right? This is something which is really very fascinating about astrology, right? Okay, so I think today it is done, right? It is done for today, right? So we shall meet tomorrow if Krishna decides. If you have any doubt, please ask. Any doubts, Radhika ji?
No, Prabhuji. Thank you.
No? Okay, so Hari Bol, thank you. Stop share.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Any doubts? Mataji, Prabhuji, Vishnu Prabhu, Soumya Mataji, you? Any doubts? No? Okay. So thank you. Hari Bol.